morning. Good morning, Miss Bertha Randall.
Good morning.
And I'm Keith Borkin. We members here of Our Lady of Fatima. And Miss Randall, Mrs. Randall was gracious enough today to let us interview her. We're gonna get a little information from her because she's one of the pillars of the church here at Fatima. And first of all, I want to ask you, how long have you been a member of Fatima?
I've been a member of Fatima over 60 years.
Over 60
Over
years.
60 years.
Over 60
Came
years.
in under Father Downey.
So Father Downey. Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
mhm.
Now, over these 60 years, what would you say are some of the fun, memorable things that you've been a part of or taking place here? I know that's 6 decades, so it's a lot. So just what's some of the things that kind of stands out to you over that period of time?
Well, I've always prided myself when I'm talking about Fatima as being a family church. And that's just the way I present us. And as being a family church, I've been involved in a lot of things here. I have not been a bench member. I've been an active member of Fatima.
Yes.
I've served in the choir. I'm a lector, Eucharistic minister, started the greeters ministry. So I've been involved in a lot of activities in the church and still try to stay involved.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I think we need more of, everybody to participate, because it's, some of us may just come to church and leave, and but if you participate in whatever ministry it is, it sort of makes you feel more connected. So that's a lot of things you've done over the past 60 years.
And that's the way we're going to have to keep our church moving even as we age. We have to depend on the younger generation to come in and step in and do their part. A lot of them feel like we don't have maybe enough programs in the church. Well, it's your time.
Keep them active.
Right, it's your time to step in and implement those programs. Your ideas, you're at a time where things have changed. You're connected to a lot of things, and you need to bring those things into the church. Don't say what other churches are doing, say what my church is
can do.
doing.
I totally agree with that.
Yes.
Now, what does your Catholic faith mean to you? What does it mean to you?
It means that I'm a child of God, and I serve as a child of God, and I worship as a child of God. I was brought up in a different time where we were probably more reverent than we are now. I see a lot of things in the church that did not happen before, but I also realize times have changed. But that doesn't mean that our religion has changed, and we have to respect the church. And me being an older member, I see a lot of changes in the church, but we need to go back and look at the old church some, because what's happening on the outside don't necessarily mean have to be brought inside our church.
Yeah.
Our sanctuary must stay sacred, and I'm a firm believer of that. I believe we have a sacred church.
I totally agree with you. Piggybacking on what you just said, and it was one of the questions I was going to ask you, was what can the young do and what message can you give to the young, which you did. You said participate. And what drove you to want to participate in the church? Because obviously you have and still is doing. So what guidance could you give to young members to say, hey, participate, get involved? What message can you give?
And I'm going to say that go back to my upbringing, because my parents didn't send me to church, they brought me to church. And that's what I did for my children. And anything my children was involved in, then I was involved in. And so I think we need to get back to being family. We used to have pews where whole families sat. And that just doesn't happen now. And I think a lot of people are just getting away from coming to church. but it's nothing like hearing the word inside
In
the
person,
church.
I
Right.
agree.
Mhm.
I totally agree with that, totally agree with
And
that.
so even though we have our services broadcast, it's just, you get a different message just being in the house.
Being live, right, totally. Now, on a personal note, you know, Miss Randall, I can be in the background and sometimes I hear you speaking to my wife on the phone, and you all have some really good conversation and she admires you. And that's one of the reasons why we wanted you to be someone that we would interview, because we need someone to emulate and look up to. And with 60 years, I think that's a pretty long period of time. Now, before we close, is there anything else you would like to add? Anything that, you know, you feel that, you know, is imperative? But what do you like to add, maybe just in closing?
I just would like to see the church continue to grow as being a family church. We have a lot of people visiting our church. I like to see that relationship of oneness in our church. And I think we do, for the most part, a very good job at doing that. So I just think we need to continue our inclusiveness. I think that's a big part of our church.
You know, when I look out, just before we close, I have to make this point. If I look out in the church over the years, I look for that hat. I look for that hat because she stands out, and this is someone that, you know, we need to look up to. It really is. That goes for all of us. So I want to thank you, Mrs. Randall, from the bottom of my heart. Again, you're one of those people that we need to, the points that you just pointed out are just so perfect, so perfect. We just need to take note of that. And so thank you. Did I get a hug before we?
You certainly can.
All right.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Again, this is, you know, just a chat with members of Our Lady of Fatima Catholic Church. Thank you.